Good evening, Dorin here again. I heard an interesting, amusing bit of rubbish come out of the Rush Limbaugh show the other day. I don't listen to it, but it's posted to Facebook, and believe me, people send me links to things they think that I should see or want to see. Rush Limbaugh had the guts to ask, why is suddenly the Confederate flag, being a negative symbol about our American history, a Republican problem? Let me explain to you why it is a Republican problem. It is a Republican problem, Rush Limbaugh, because people like you, Ted Cruz, Chris Christie, Bobby Jindal, Mike Huckabee, and most others who want to run for the position of president and run the country and lead the country have a problem with the truth. You have a problem with actually hitting that little fact button that says check the truth. And the reason you have a problem with it is because you take no responsibility for you and especially Glenn Beck, and Glenn Beck in particular, for pumping people full of hate, ignorance, bigotry, fear, intolerance, and prejudice, and using our faith, my Christian faith, to do it. And you are perfectly okay with it. I'm sorry, the Confederate flag was not a symbol of bravery, okay? The Confederate flag means to many persons here in the USA and even from outside who recently came in to your country within the last a couple dozen years or so. It means to them the same thing that the Nazi swastika means to people who are Jewish and gay, or black, or others who were deemed to be society's problems, and they would be just better off if we were actually rid of these people, or we forced fed and continued to feed them into slavery. The Confederate flag was about the South rising again. Rising against what? Rising against losing the Civil War because people were tired of slavery and they want it abolished. You keep saying, Rush Limbaugh, that this should not be a Republican problem because Lincoln freed the slaves. If you think that the Republican Party anymore has anything in common with the party of Lincoln who freed the slaves, or anybody else does, you're about as delusional as you pick it, you name it, okay? How about a right-wing nut job popping pain pills all day, okay? You'd have to be pretty stoned to come up with some of the shit you are saying, all right? It is a Republican problem because when the Democrat Party passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, they purged most of their bigots and their KKK members into the Republican Party. The Republican Party used to be the party of common sense liberals, what we would now call classic liberalism, the teachings of John Stuart Mill and John Locke. For those that you don't know who those two men are, John Stuart Mill and John Locke, Google it and look them up. Okay, the Democrats were the conservative party of Dixiecrats, the ones who actually wanted to retain slavery because they made money off of only counting slaves as 3/5 human. That way those slaves could never actually cast a vote, and the slave plantation owner would cast a vote for whatever party would allow him to keep his slaves and keep them in power. That way slaves would be considered to remain property. All right? The Republican Party and the Democratic Party in the last 150 years have totally switched places. Okay? The Democratic Party is now the party that the Republican Party wanted to be a long time ago. Almost Democrats, but not quite. You are sensitive to the same injustices, at least we hear from your words, that go on around the nation. but you actually lack a lot when it comes time to putting the foot into traction and getting anything done about it. We hear a lot of great things, okay, but very little of it seems to actually come into fruition with any activity, or how about this way, any balls to actually get the job done, okay? Bernie Sanders is one of the few, and I actually really like the man because he has a very good idea. Many of them, college education should be free. I agree. The state should pick up the tab for college education, and it should be worked into the system where people who want to go to school, who deserve to go to school, who need the education, the whole society will benefit if people are smart and you create another generation of critical thinkers. But, Rush Limbaugh, Republican Party does not want critical thinkers. Okay, they do not want critical thinkers because you have sold out to the rich people, of which now you became one, by pumping people full of hate and fear because you used people's fears against them to let them know that no matter how bad they've got it and how hurt their life is, it is always going to be the problem of somebody else. These other people are why you are in pain and you are suffering. You are doing the same thing now that Hitler did back in 1933. During the last election, when most of these Tea Party candidates ran for political office and won their seats, the first thing that came to my mind is Welcome to Nazi Germany 1933. Nazi Germany was a fascist, which is a right-wing regime, not a left one. Okay? And when you have too many of your candidates who wonder why all this is a Republican problem, maybe is because Bobby Jindal says that God sent Hurricane Katrina to drown a bunch of black people because he knew that the U.S. was trying to legalize gay marriage. What? When you have Mike Huckabee said that if gay marriage is going to be legalized, Jesus will weep? Okay, Mike, you might be right. But if Jesus weeps, it's going to be tears of joy, okay? Not tears of sadness, because he is everything that you are not. And you are so far removed from the teachings of Jesus that basically you're one of the people that have convinced me there is nothing Christian about the right. There is nothing Christian about the right. And I stand by it, and every day when I hear people come up with more negative comments that say how full of shit I am for saying it, they only prove my point. So, Rush Limbaugh, you want to know why this is a Republican problem? You're the first one to ask why it is a Republican problem. Let me tell you why it is a Republican problem. Because you have made a living pumping people full of hate, ignorance, bigotry, intolerance, fear, and prejudice, and you made it a Republican problem. So now, you wear the badge honorably, and you take heat for it. I have withdrawn from the Republicans, and I really miss them, the old Republicans. And believe me, I really sincerely miss Barry Goldwater. He was one of the best, and he was probably the last honest Republican this party had. You think that you bear any resemblance to the people you had in your past? You are the one that is suffering from the delusion. Kredema. And I know some people will not like to hear me say this. And a lot of people may disagree. And I have been called every name in the book from some of it because of it. And all I can say to that is, you know, if that is how you feel, la felicitate. Likewise, and same to you. Anytime that the Republican Party is really willing to grow a brain and come back to what it used to be, a lot of us will be here waiting. And if the Democratic Party actually has the guts to follow through on some of the things they promise, a lot of us will be completely overjoyed. God bless all of you. Have a good night. And remember, do not let evil right-wing Christians speak for the rest of us. I support marriage equality for all, for people gay, straight, lesbian, of any color and any race, because of my Christian faith, not in spite of it. No apta buna. Dumnezeu să vină cuvânteze.